Happy New Year and welcome to the very first edition of the agenda for 2021 with me, Lasha Kingsley, in Douala, Cameroon. We are beginning the year with someone who believes so much in financial independence. We are talking about Dr. Ngwanyam, of course, who is a social entrepreneur and the president and founder of St. Louis University Institute. Dr. Ngwanyam talks to the agenda. I'll be right back. Dr. Ngwanyam, Happy New Year and welcome once again on this very first edition of the agenda for the year 2021 on My Media Prime. We are glad we honored our invitation.
Thank you and Happy New Year to our listeners. It's always a pleasure to be with you, and we should wish ourselves the best this year. And when I was coming to the studio, I was reading something from one of my students who says that the year will be as good as you want it. It's not, that year you are the one who makes the year what it should be.
Okay, Doctor, so how was 2020?
Well, 2020 had a lot of its own troubles beyond our capacities, troubles that were not caused by us. Of course, there are some troubles that we brought on ourselves. But the bottom line is that we are still here, and we should learn from what went wrong and see how we can correct ourselves this year.
Okay, Doc, we are beginning the year, of course, and you believe so much in financial independence. Before that, there's a video that circulated on the social media, or that is still circulating on social media, of a man ill-treating or maltreating the son because the son misbehaved. What do you have to say concerning that video, Doctor?
I understand the son is about 6 years old. It doesn't matter what the son did. It does not matter. What the father did was horrible, because I saw that video and I didn't have the courage to go through it. And it's very barbaric that an adult should do that to a child. And all the time, for about 1 hour after that, I was wondering, what is wrong with the man? What is wrong with the man? And if you go through carefully, the man has a psychological problem. He himself, he probably comes from a broken home, or he was not well brought up, or something is wrong, or he's stressed, and then he is transferring this stress onto his children, his wife, and whatever. There's something seriously wrong with that man.
Many people believe that for an African child to be all right, the child needs to be handled with strong hands.
No, that is the wrong. Handling with strong hands doesn't mean that you should kill a child in the process, or that you should maim a child in the process. Once you do that, the child will grow and know you as a wicked father. Love builds better bonds. It's not when they say don't spare the rod and spoil the child. It doesn't mean that you should go out there and use some kind of iron fist to kind of like discipline your son or your daughter or whatever. Pay attention to the child, dialogue with the child, help the child. You can whip the child a little bit, but be careful what you do.
Okay, Doctor, you believe so much in financial independence for youths in Cameroon, and of course you have been working towards that for so many years now with your institution. You're trying to draft curriculum that would gear towards empowering youths independently. When you look at the climate in Cameroon, with what you are preaching or what you are trying to do you really think there's a fertile ground where what you are trying to promote can work in Cameroon?
You see, the life is very interesting. I was telling you off camera that everything works on principles. Things work on principles. Whether you agree with the principles or not is immaterial. Everything works on principles. And the bottom line is this, God shows me and then opens up my mind to understand where we are and what we are going through and where the difficulties are. And I really understand where our poverty is coming from. We have all sorts of poverties: poverty of the mind, financial poverty, material poverty, capacity poverty, emotional poverty, all sorts of poverties. And then I also get to understand that what we see in our community as violence, all the sorts of violence that you are seeing in our community, be it the war in the northwest and southwest region, be it in the problems in the east region stretching to the Central African Republic, be it the Boko Haram problems in the north, or even be it what you are seeing in the center and south called microbe, or all those problems, and even the petty thieves and whatever, all those things that drive them are linked to our education and are linked to our economy and are linked to many of these things. So just put it another way. you know, let us build as many prisons as we want and catch the criminals and lock them inside. That will not be the solution of the problem. So there is a problem somewhere, and just filling up prisons with people or shooting someone, killing someone, beating someone to death, or doing what is not the problem. So, you know, I was talking to someone who was discharged. I mean, who was free. What is the word?
Freed or
from
released.
Released from prison.
Yes.
And then he's released from prison and he goes back home. And you know, all the years he's been in prison, he has not been building his economic platforms. And so he comes back and he left the family, the wife, everybody just struggling on. So he meets a shattered family. And then you just send him back empty-handed to his family. What does he do? How does he pick up the loose ends? And if the person is not very disciplined, he can go back into crime or something like that. So we need to find out what is it that we have to be doing, which is right, and get everybody to do it, not building prisons.
Doc, you may want to be agree with me that politicians in rich countries run for elective office promising to create jobs and reduce unemployment. Why do our own politicians in Cameroon don't do like their counterparts in rich countries?
Because the
they
ones
come
in
with
rich
promises, at the end of the day, nothing, see nothing.
You see, the politicians in the rich countries, I would say that 60% of them mean what they say. But in the third world, whatever we come up with as promises for elections, none of them is true. We just want to say something that would build the emotions of the people to vote us into office, and then we go borrow money from the bank and put that into our campaigns and so on. And so once we are voted, we are looking back for a means of first reimbursing what we borrowed, and second, begin to amass for the rainy days. We don't care very much about what we were supposed to do. But that said, even for those of them who really wanted to do something, we don't understand problems, we don't know how to create wealth, and we don't understand problems really. So at the end of the day, we just spin around in circles, and that's why we are always in this mess. And you know, while the ones abroad will be concentrating on job creation, when you come to our own settings, maybe jobs don't really come to the forefront, because we seem to lack just about everything. There are no roads, there's no water, there's no electricity.
Yes.
So we keep singing on these eternal problems: oh roads, oh water, oh electricity, and so on. But you know, job creation becomes the last thing. And when we go through our schools and our university systems, we are putting in people's minds that the place to look for a job, the job first must be a white collar job, and probably the government is the one to employ you. So we are training thousands of people, and when you question them, they're all heading to get a government job.
Is the problem not the system? You are equally advocating that 70% of our universities be transformed into polytechnics or
yes.
politics. Don't you think that with the present politicians, present regime, present old people who are there, nothing will change if these universities are transformed into polytechnics? The problem is the system.
The problem is the system, the problem is the people. But it doesn't matter where the problem is, we must first begin to understand the problem and begin to change it. It doesn't matter from where. You know, I could keep quiet, but don't forget, I'm sure you've seen some of those wildfires burning all of California, those wildfires in the bushes. It starts only with one match, just one match, and then the whole place goes on fire. You see the war in the northwest and southwest region, or any war, it starts with the first bullet. So just like anything, a good idea is a good idea, a bad idea is a bad idea. If you have a good idea that will save a nation, you know, like I've been saying, let us look at our education. Let us try to see how we can help our youth to create jobs. Let us see how we can empower the private sector. Let us change something, because something is wrong somewhere. And I boldly say is that our education is not good enough. Well, that is something that you cannot just wake up from your bed and go and say. Otherwise, you'll be killed the next day. But because I'm so confident about it, and I know what I'm talking about it, and I can debate with all the ministers and directors in the country on a
and they are seeing what you're actually doing.
Yes, because I have a demonstration. You know, I'm not just talking from blah blah blah. No, I have gone through the mill to be able to say what I'm saying. I went through a good school. I went in my youth. I sold firewood. I sold groundnuts. I did things. I took pictures to make money and so on. So it's a way of life. It's a mindset. Okay, I have the mindset of Bamilikis. I have the mindset of Igbo people. I see it differently. And when in as much as I'm a doctor, that's one thing. Just forget about that. But it is that mindset. You learn from a lot of things. You learn how to. Number one, you learn to understand problems. Number two, you learn how to create problems. Number three, you learn how to create wealth. And above all, I have read a lot of books on wealth creation, and I have traveled the world over, and I'm seeing what other people are doing. So I come and I sit here. I say, look, brothers and sisters, we've got to change. We've got to change and empower the private sector. Forget about the public sector. Empower that private sector. And how do we do it? You cannot empower the private sector if you don't teach the people 1, 2, 3, 4, and all these things. We need to know them whether we like it or not. There's that parable in the Bible where the sower went out and to sow the seeds, and some fell on the hard rocks, some fell in thorns. You remember? Yeah. So the bottom line is, you have the idea. Start to sow the idea. Spread the idea out like we are doing now. Spread the idea. 1 or 2 kids there would get what we are saying, and then probably say, hey, probably they are saying something that is useful. Some people who are struggling and not knowing that they are in the right path, when you say it, they get encouraged, say, yeah, I heard that on TV. That is the way, and we must go after it. And then, some will bear tenfold, some will bear fivefold, and some will die, and so on. But the most important thing is sow the word.
And the political will is the problem. Most people might be trained and they will want to leave the country and instead go and develop elsewhere or develop other countries rather than staying at home. Yes. Because of the system. Yeah, many people are complaining about the system.
We call that the brain drain, capacity drain, and so on. But we should build up our countries in such a way that we don't stop our children from going out. Our children should go out, just like the Chinese, yes, and come back. Like the Chinese are who they are because their government send them out to go to the Western world and steal the technology and bring back. And then the Chinese also open their borders for because of their cheap labor and many other incentives for companies of the West to come in and settle in China and produce in China. And while they were producing in China, it is the Chinese that are working in those companies and getting the technology. So there are all these mechanisms for strengthening a nation and her economy. And above all, like you were saying at the opening statements, that the government of China, they changed 70% of their universities into polytechnics, and that's what we need to do. All these things too, so that money gets into the pockets of our children. Hey, children, everybody, forget about the civil service. There are 300,000 people there. Is bloated, and no one is going to give you a job there. Besides, if you have a job as a civil service servant, it's not helping you in any way. The money is in the private sector. The growth is in the private sector, and it's that private sector that we need to support.
Okay, Dr. Regional Council elections just passed, with the youths underrepresented as well as women, and they all continue to sit tight on the positions that were supposed to be given to young people to exercise, their talents, their brains, their new way of doing things.
Yeah, I like that you're explaining that we're supposed to be given. Nobody gives, okay? It still boils back to where we started. We have to open up. We have to open up our economy before we get lost. So that people can understand. I will keep saying. I will still bring this structure so that people understand the structure. Once you understand the structure that I'm going to put out here, you will not get lost. A country is ruled by politics. And politics means, which is something I learned from the cardinal, politics means having in place the right policies, and in the first place, and then second place, making sure that those policies are followed to the letter. So a country is ruled by politics, but that politics is supported, it supports the economics, and the economics supports the politics. So at the top here you have politics and you have economics. Economics is the ability to produce wealth and opportunities and what have you, in the community, grow your wealth in the community. That's economics. All right. It has to do with money, goods and services, or what have you, demand, supply, and all those principles. Now, these two things run the development of a nation. The development is run by these two things, the politics and the economics. They run the development, and they kind of like support each other. But interestingly, what you and I see above this table is the politics, the economics, and the development. But hidden away from sight,
yes,
is education. The education is under the table. If you have seen some of these, you've seen some of these people with some marionettes. They pull strings and the marionette is jumping like that. I'm sure
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So the education is like those strings on the marionette. So you see the politics going this way and the economy is going this way and the development going everywhere. And then what people are not seeing, that it's
Somebody that is pulling.
yes,
this
somebody is
thing,
pulling
and
the
that
strings.
somebody is the education.
Yeah,
you're
it's the
talking about.
education. It's the education. So when you have your education wrong, the politics will be wrong, the economics will be wrong, the development will be
In
wrong.
our own case, the political will. Many people are saying that the political will is not there to drive the education. You are
Yes,
talking
the
about.
political
So
is
where
not
do we
will.
go from here?
Yes, the political will is not there because that political will, the people controlling that political will come from that educational system, which renders them blind. Are you getting what I'm saying? Everybody is kind of like blind, but somewhere along the line there's a ray of hope, and we have to keep singing it like that so that it occurs to people that something is actually wrong. You see, if you look at our school system, 80% of people who have gone to our schools come from an arts background.
Yes.
Yes, you know, check
The
from
rich
secondary school history.
anthropology,
It's arts background.
But in other countries is working.
Good.
Those
Let me just-
domains they're
let- let-
using it to
let me-
better of the
let me
lives of their
explain to you.
citizens.
Let me explain to you. So you have 80% of those people there, and what happens is these 80% are the ones who come into power. Are you getting what I'm saying? They come into a power and they are not aware of the workings of engineering and technology to create wealth.
So they
And
talk history.
yeah,
But they have technical advisors
They
who
t-
are from the domains you're
they have
talking
technical
about.
advisors that have come from an environment who probably train even the science and technology, but with a limited mind on wealth creation. See, you have in the studies you have people who have gone and studied. They have studied the arts, those that have studied the science, and then pure science, and those that have studied the engineering and technology. Those that have studied the engineering and technology are very, very few. They don't have that critical mass to turn things around. And then these other ones, they make so much noise that they drown them. Are you getting what I'm saying? And then even the three, those that have studied the arts, those that have studied the science, and those that have studied even the technology, there is a fourth component that everybody needs that very few people have. It's called entrepreneurship. How do you solve problems? How do you create
Doc, that
wealth?
brings me to my next question. We have so many graduates who have left polytechnics, but we find them roaming around the street. They don't have a job.
That is the
So
point.
what happens? You are advocating for the transformation of our universities into polytechnics, but we
Yes.
have students leaving these polytechnics, and most of them are still roaming the streets
Yes, you
without
put
jobs.
them into polytechnics and you put it in their minds that
Which-
after that they
yeah.
should go and look for a job. Are you getting what I'm saying? And then, so when they finish, they go to look for a job in Sonara, in Sonel. They're looking for a job in structures that already exist. And some of those places are full. They just go to the Sonara, not to be very useful, but just to put on a tie and a suit again. Are you getting what I'm saying? And then, when you go like to our polytechnics, there are two types of engineers that are trained in the polytechnic. I'm sure you've heard about them.
Not at all. Can you brief our audience?
Yes, there's what you call ingénieur de conception.
Okay, those who are working on papers, who sit and
Correct.
just
Yes,
do
and
things
then-
from their
And
offices.
then ingénieur de travaux. So when you say ingénieur de conception, just to break it, it's like saying that you have doctors and nurses. Are you getting what I'm saying? And then the ingénieur de travaux, the ingénieur de conception, he is so full of himself that he cannot touch anything. I was trained to be an ingénieur de conception. Are you getting me? He's locked in his mind and he's so bloated with himself, and then he is looking for posts in the ministry or something to be appointed somewhere, whatever. And then the ingénieur de travaux is the one who actually jumps on the machine and does something.
Yes.
We need them. You need both, but just like anything else, when you train as a medical doctor, you should know nursing techniques and so on. Otherwise, you'll be a very bad doctor. And you should work as a team.
Yes.
That is why you also have, let's say, our agric officers who have come out of schools like Chang.
They
who
cannot
have-
even produce a
who-
chick.
good, who have never climbed on a tractor. Are you getting what is wrong with our system? We need to break that and form the person holistically. How? So you are being trained as an engineer, but you have to be able to make a bed. Not with the hoe, of course, but all the techniques with the hoe, with the horse, with the everything, with the tractor, with whatever. You need to be able to dirty your fingers. You need to be able to produce it. So that when you form a team and you are at the top and you are conceiving, you know what everyone else should be doing, and if they are not doing it well, you show them how to do it. Is it making some sense there? So there's a lot that we need to correct in all that we are doing in Cameroon to be able to get it, because we are in compartments and we are missing the whole picture.
All these ideas without political will, some people say, will still not yield anything.
Yes, because everything has been hinged on politics. But again, while we are talking like this, if the people are listening to us, if the communities are listening to us, parents and children are listening to us, they will still grow and break away from the chain, even though the politics has not changed. Because it's about you and your family. It's about your future. And I'm just opening up your eyes to say that when you are going to the university, a faculty, to be studying history, geography, philosophy, something, you should ask yourself the question, how am I going to feed my family? You know, the question you should ask yourself is, how am I going to make money? If you cannot answer that question, how I'm going to make money, something is wrong with you.
Many people probably think because we are still in a kind of stage where we've not reached that, tertiary stage, that we need all those anthropologists and the rest. We really have to invest in the agricultural sector.
Yes.
But one thing caught my attention when I was preparing for this program. There are some tractors that were imported by the government of Cameroon. They are there rotten in the bushes in the Bolova, in South region of Cameroon. What is happening?
It's the mindset, and I think it's more of politics and it's more of everything. Already putting those tractors in a Bolova, the tractors are in a wrong ecological environment. Those tractors would have been an open, let's say somewhere in Bafia, there where you can see open lands, and you begin to link a tractor and open farms. But when you take a tractor and put it in the forest, the mine also is blocked. So it comes back to our education. And that's what happens. You are seeing the tractors because that is something that you and I can see, but that's how we have been incurring losses on many fronts, because of our lack of education, our lack of exposure, our lack of three things. Like I said, number one, we don't understand problems. Number two, we don't know how to solve problems, and number three, we don't know how to create wealth. So we are just this mixed pot of problems.
So how should 2021 look like for young people who have very beautiful projects and they don't know how to go about it?
Let me tell you something about projects. I've talked to some young people. I've listened to a couple of young people. What they do, our school system trains them to write projects and carry in a folder and start knocking at doors looking for financing. It doesn't work like that. Forget about that. It doesn't work like, if you're going to write a project and carry it in a folder, it doesn't matter how beautiful the project is, and you start going around that, you're looking for financing, you knocking in ministerial doors, and so you will never get a penny. Forget it. It doesn't exist. You have to be very, very practical and pragmatic. It's simple. And I also, when I was starting my clinic business in Bamenda, I had to go to Park Guarantee of Blessed Memory to sit with him and get some lessons from him. I talked to Mr. Kimbeng, Willie Kimbeng. He's in Bamenda now at K Palace, and he gave me some tips. Then, fortunately, my wife attended some seminars, some courses that were delivered by one Mr. Wifoke. He works with the microfinance institutions. He gave them courses on how do you start and manage a small business. And I didn't go to the course myself, but my wife was there. When she comes back in the evening, I will take the notes and read them. You get what I'm saying? Then I went to some of my friends, even when I had started my business at the National Financial Credit, the managers, I will be asking them questions, business questions, and I will be taking notes and so on. You have to grow that. I was building my capacity to think as an entrepreneur, because when you just come from our school systems and you're thinking like it doesn't work, or you're a civil servant and you're thinking like this doesn't work, there is a kind of mindset that you must have, the entrepreneurial mindset. If you don't have it, nothing is going to work. So it is that mindset that is missing, and we must first learn it. And once you are looking for opportunity to create something, money is not the most important thing. Knowing what you have
is also necessary.
It's necessary, but it's not the most important thing. Let me prove it to you. Have you seen people who have won at the national lottery or something, some big money?
Yeah, I have.
Have you ever seen anything come out of them?
Probably because of no planning.
Correct. They don't have all that knowledge. If you lack that knowledge, it doesn't matter what happens. Nothing will happen. Let's put it more dramatically. Let's go out now. All the students who have left our universities, let's go out and share £1 million to all of them. Let's share. I don't know how many there are there, but you will not get 1,000 successes. You wouldn't. Not 1,000. Why? Because there is something that they need to succeed that they haven't got. Is the mind. Cameroon is a poor country. It's not because we are poor. Our mindset is wrong, is warped. And until you correct that mindset, nothing is going to work. So this is how it works. Start small and grow. Whatever you want to do, start small and grow. Then start with what you have. Borrow money from your family and start with it so that you make the mistakes and you correct. And then when people begin to see you advancing, when you want to borrow money or something, they will be seeing what you are trying to do. But if you're coming and you're telling them a long and short story with a straight tie and with very clean fingernails and and eyebrows that you have shaved from here to there and so on, some funny hairdo, nobody's going to give you a penny and nobody will trust you. You would earn trust by first showing what you have been capable of doing. Let's say that you wanted to create a poultry farm with 10,000 chicken. If you can write a project for 10,000 chicken, someone is going to ask you, how many chicken have you kept before? If you say you have not kept two birds, you are not going to, for the next 100 years, you will not get
any funding.
You will not get anything. But your project, you have in mind to get a farm of 10,000 chicken. Start with the 25 birds, with your pocket money, with the 25 birds. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yes, and go to 50 birds. And go to, then when you are telling your story, you say, 2 years ago, I started with 25 birds. I increased them to 50, 100. Now I'm at 1,000 birds, and I want money, because if I have money, I could just jump to 3,000 birds. Then people will be listening to you. Are you getting what I'm saying? But we don't know that. You must start small and grow and go through the needle.
Doctor, another intriguing thing, or what surprised many people, is that most of the administrators, those who are ruling us, they studied in the best universities abroad, and they are still not only able to manage the country well.
Those who are ruling us didn't study in the best university in the world. Those who are studying us, they came from ENAM, and ENAM has a mindset. But what you are saying is that you have some people in the civil service who went to some schools abroad. But just going to a school abroad is not it. I first told you about the studies, those packages, right? Yes. You can go abroad and you stay in those packages. I mean, I have my own children who went and studied abroad, and sometimes I have to explain certain things to them. Then when I'm explaining certain things to them, they say, but we went abroad. I say, yeah, you went, but you could have been in London, but you are passing on the street. You don't know, though you are passing on the street in London, but you are not aware of the factory that was on the other street and what they were doing in that factory. Just because you are on the street you don't breathe it in the air. Are you getting what I'm saying? Just because you are somewhere doesn't mean it went through you. Let me give you a concrete and practical example. We are here in Cameroon, like you say, we are being managed by people who have gone all over the whole place and have traveled and so on. Take for instance, are our streets numbered? Do you have names to our streets? No, we don't. If a guest just comes into Cameroon now and goes through, can he say that this street is Bunamusa, this street is this is Koto Street, this is what? Nothing. How are the houses numbered? Nothing. Are you getting me? But we have people who have studied. They go come. But little basic things, we can do them. So we have a basic problem of we don't understand problems. We don't know how to solve problems. We don't know how to create wealth.
Okay, Doc. Let's talk about investment, creation of wealth, like you've been advocating. And recently we saw the launching or the opening of the biggest mall in Central Africa. Many people have criticized that investment, saying that the sector that the investor choose to put the money is not right for Cameroonian, because it has to do with consumption. Most of the products that are being sold there come from abroad, especially from European Union. I will not help Cameroonians that much.
Yes, it's a very controversial project, in the sense that for people who have not traveled abroad, they see it and they look at the face value. Oh, it's a beautiful building. Oh, we have a supermarket which is like the one in France. You know, you have never been to France, you've never been abroad, so you can also run in there and run on those escalators and say, okay, it feels like being in France. Okay, that's good for the emotions. Okay, but behind it, who owns it? Okay, is it a Cameroonian? Fine. If he owns it, how much of it does he own? No, it is owned by a foreigner, and he is just sharing part of it, I guess. Then, when you go to look at it more closely, what are you selling in that supermarket? Most of our supermarkets, 95% of the stuff sold in our supermarkets, it doesn't matter, are imported. Are you getting what I'm saying?
So how are the home industries going to grow now?
So
that you're encouraging youths to try to create wealth. A young man who is trying to produce a product that is that looks like those coming in from abroad. How would a young man survive to be able to to grow?
That's what I'm saying. I was driving at. So in reality, when you look at it from the surface, it looks great for the environment and whatever. But in reality, in economic terms, in wealth creation and so on, it makes a few foreigners rich. But the local
drains.
Yes, it drains the local
economy.
Industry. First they've come and taken away your your minerals and whatever. Then the little money that you have in your pockets, they come and put something again. It's like a cash machine that sucks the machine from your system, and it is taken out. And to illustrate again, you might think that is bad, but when we keep importing rice and fish, we are taking those things are paid for using hard currency. And that hard currency comes from the cocoa, the coffee that the mamas are doing, and then the tree trunks and the gold and the silver and what have you. And instead of, the best thing for us would have been to create our own farms and grow the rice, create our own farms and grow the fish. But when you take the hard currency and go import the fish, you are also killing the economy. So we are killing the economy of Cameroon in many ways. And if we don't change,
we have land, we have vast land,
we have
in
rain,
the place and the more place. So
yes,
what is preventing us Cameroonians from investing in the lands that we have?
It's the mind. You must understand problems, you must know how to solve problems, and you know how to create wealth. If we don't correct that, we are going nowhere. We'll be slaves forever.
Why not think about the bad policy or the system? Probably many people are blaming it on the system, not only the mindset.
Yeah, no, it is the system.
Because a few people are governing us. They probably don't think about the future of Cameroonian as many people are saying.
Yes, so a man think. But there's an expression: as you think, so shall you be. When we are talking about a system, is our thought processes, which are conditioned by our value systems, by our education, by our exposure, by all those things. So, like I said, it is that education that has messed up our minds. And then the white man who gave us the education and the white man who has set us up doesn't show you most of these things, because your real independence is economic independence. Forget about political independence, the one that you got in 1960 and 1961. That's not very much. The real independence is economic independence. Once you don't have economic independence, you have nothing.
What is happening in the northwest and southwest?
Yes.
People are crying, we are marginalized, we don't have jobs.
Yes, it's economic independence. So the white man gives you something that you think is independence. It's left to you to acquire economic independence. You acquire it yourself. It doesn't matter how much someone loves you, someone cannot bless you with economic independence. Does it make sense? I cannot just say, Tasha, I love you very much. Even if I gave you 100 million francs now, I'm not really. It's not
without the education.
Without that education,
nothing will change.
Yes, you will just squander it, and that's why African nations have always been asking for help, borrowing, and so on, and nothing is changing because they don't have economic independence, because they don't have an economic mind. When you have economic independence, you grow your wealth like the Jewish people do. Are you getting me? But Africans, they consume. They don't have capital. The others grow capital, but Africans consume it. So until you break it and begin to grow your wealth and know how to wealth is just like you know, when you whatever you grow, I mean, you grow corn, you grow your wealth too. And there are many techniques for growing wealth, and you start first by growing the mind of the people, by growing the capacities of the youth. So we need to change our education.
As you are growing, the poison environment is poisoning the minds and coming. How will you succeed?
That growth is on both sides. I mean, it's holistic. You have to be teaching the population, say, population, we are going to be going this way. This is what our youth should be doing. We have changed our education this way for these reasons and so on. You see this ditch that we are falling in. We are falling in this ditch because of this, and we can only correct it by this and so on. If we don't do that, there will be wars in Cameroon for the next 100 years.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ngwanyam, for honoring our invitation to be the pioneer or the first guest for the year 2021 on the agenda My Media Prime Television.
Thank you very much. I just hope that this year a lot of these are political noise on televisions and so on.
Energy should be focused
on economic independence. We have had so-called political independence, and we keep fighting and thinking that the problem is politics. The problem is not very much politics. The problem is lack of economic independence. And until we grow that, we will not grow anything, and that can only change and we get development when we correct our education, correct our mindsets.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you.